Hello and welcome to this lesson on Oedipus. This is perhaps one of the more well-known pieces of Greek mythology, particularly because the psychologist Sigmund Freud named one of his theories after Oedipus, which I'm sure you've heard of, but we'll discuss that after we've actually looked at the myth. Let's begin with Oedipus's parents. Laius was his father and he was king of Thebes, and he married Jocasta, who was also from the same house as him, so from the same lineage, and this was the house of Cadmus. There's a story of how Cadmus came to be king of Thebes that you're welcome to look into. Laius and Jocasta were unable to have children, and of course for a king you can imagine this is a very important thing, to have a son to continue the line. So Laius goes to the oracle at Delphi to get help, to find out why they're not able to have a child and to get help so that they can have a child. But the oracle ends up prophesying that his own son will kill him, or that any child that he has will kill him. So Laius comes to see this childlessness as quite a blessing. So he stops sleeping with his wife altogether, so that there's no risk that they'll ever produce an heir. Jocasta's not happy about this, but she doesn't actually understand the reasons why her husband has stopped sleeping with her. So she decides to trick her husband into sleeping with her so that they can have a child. And she gets him drunk one night and is successful and becomes pregnant, and they have a child. Laius is still concerned after the birth of this child that the prophecy of the oracle will come true, and so he gives the baby to his shepherds and instructs them to leave the baby out with the elements to die. Now the shepherds, you can imagine, take compassion on this little baby and decide to disobey their king. And they're aware that the wife of the king of Corinth, Peribea, is unable to have children of her own, and so they give this baby to the king of Corinth and his wife. They also, just a little note, they also name the child Oedipus, and it's important that they're the ones that name him, because when he returns to Thebes later on in the story, his real parents are not going to recognize him by name, because aside from the fact that they think he's dead, they weren't actually the ones who named him. And another little note is that Oedipus, he assumes that the king of Corinth and the queen of Corinth are his real parents, so he doesn't know that he's been adopted by them. But at this party, at this celebration one night, someone remarks to him that he doesn't look like his father, the king of Corinth. And this concerns Oedipus, so he decides to have a chat with the oracle, as many of our characters in this story keep doing, to talk about why he doesn't look like his father. When he gets there, though, a prophetess of the god Apollo starts shrieking at him to get away from the altar or from the shrine so that he doesn't defile it, because he is going to kill his father and marry his mother. So Oedipus doesn't even get to talk to the oracle or find out who his parents are. But he's really concerned at what this prophetess has been shrieking to him, that he's going to kill his father and marry his mother. So he decides to get as far away from Corinth as he can, so that there's no risk of him killing his father and mother, or killing the people that he thinks are his father and mother. So Oedipus heads for Thebes, which, as we know, is where his real parents are from. While he's travelling, or meanwhile, I should say, Laius, our king of Thebes, is heading to Delphi to consult the oracle, because his city is being attacked by the Sphinx. Now, to give you a little bit of an impression of what the Sphinx was, it's this mythological monster, basically, that has the head of a woman and the body of a lion and the tail of a serpent and the wings of an eagle. So his city is being destroyed by this Sphinx, and he decides he's going to go to the oracle for help. And while he's heading in that direction, they come across a traveller on foot at the crossroads, and as you can guess, this traveller is in fact Oedipus, heading in the direction of Thebes. Now, Laius's charioteer tells Thebes to step aside and make way, and Oedipus thinks, I'm not stepping aside for anybody, I'm every man's equal, and refuses to step aside, and they have to, I guess, push their way past him. And as they're doing this, they either Laius or the charioteer, there's different sources say different things, touches him on the head as they go past. And this enrages Oedipus, so he kills them. He kills the charioteer, he kills Laius, the king, and he kills all of the servants but one. So, Oedipus has just killed his father without knowing it. Oedipus returns to the city of Thebes, which is at this stage being attacked by this Sphinx. And just this news that the king has died does reach Thebes. So Jocasta knows that she's a widow, but the city can't really address the problem that the king has died yet, because they're under attack by the Sphinx, which is a far more immediate problem at this stage. The Sphinx has presented this riddle to the people of Thebes, and is asking them to solve the riddle so that he'll leave them alone. Or she'll leave them alone, I should say. The riddle is this: what creature walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at midday, and 3 in the evening? I'll say that again. What creature walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at midday, and 3 in the evening? So, and the difficulty with this riddle as well is that if anybody guessed and got it wrong, the Sphinx would kill them. So they really were in quite a predicament. But as you can imagine, our hero of the story solves this riddle. I don't know whether you've worked it out yourself. And points out that man, in his infancy, crawls on 4 legs. In his prime, he walks on 2, and in his old age, in other words, in the evening of his life, he walks with a cane, so he walks on 3 legs. And the Sphinx is unhappy about this, but concedes defeat. Now, Oedipus has saved the town of Thebes, and the reward that the town had decided for this hero, seen as Jocasta, the queen, is now very recently widowed, is that the hero who saves the town will in fact marry the queen and become king. So, as you know, Jocasta is his mother, and Oedipus ends up marrying his mother, and the prophecy has come true. Oedipus rules as king of Thebes for a long time, for decades, and he's a good king, and they have children together, Oedipus and Jocasta. But after about 20 years, Thebes is hit by a plague. Again, back to the oracle at Delphi. So Oedipus sends someone to the oracle to find out what's going on with the city. And the oracle says that the reason why the city is inflicted in this way is that the killer is still among them, of Laius the king is still among them. And our sire Tiresias also tells that one of the descendants of Spartoi must die for the city. Spartoi, this is the same as the house of Cadmus. So Jocasta, Laius, Oedipus are all members of this house. They're all descendants of this house. Now, one of the members of this house actually volunteers himself to die. This is Jocasta's grandfather, volunteers to die for the city and becomes a hero. But the sire says, no, that isn't going to solve the plague. It's in fact someone else. And this is when the truth comes to light of who Oedipus is, his guilt, that he is the man that in fact killed Laius the king, and that he's in fact Laius' son and Jocasta's son. There's different sources tell different ways in which these truths came to light. You remember that the shepherds would have known that the son of Laius was in fact not dead, so their testimony comes to light. The adoption records for the king and queen of Corinth come to light, and also you'll remember that one of the servants when Oedipus killed the king and the charioteer and the servants, that one of the servants he didn't kill, and that his testimony also comes to light. In response to this, we have a very tragic end. Jocasta hangs herself when she realizes that she's married her son, and Oedipus blinds himself and is banished from the city, and ends up wandering from city to city, and he eventually dies in Athens and is buried in Athens. Okay, now to Freud and our Oedipus complex, and this is something you've probably heard of. When Freud saw this myth, last time we spoke about how Carl Jung, the psychologist, looked at the story of Persephone and Demeter and said, hey, I think this is an experience that is universal, that everybody goes through this kind of experience. This is representative of something that lots of people go through. Freud saw in Oedipus some truth, and his theory was that when children are growing up, they secretly desire, or not secretly, but maybe unconsciously desire, to possess the parent of the opposite sex. So if it's a boy, they desire to possess their mother and to eliminate their father, the parent of the same sex. And he says that when they grow up, this then matures into identifying with that parent of the same sex and wanting wanting to be with the parent, or desiring the parent of the opposite, or desiring the opposite sex. Now this theory has been disregarded and criticized for many reasons, but people often refer to it when they're referring to people marrying, or men marrying their mother. You've probably heard that said, that, you know, all men marry their mothers. I know I've heard that said of me, that my husband has married his mother, because my mother-in-law and I have quite a lot in common. So you've probably heard that said about a lot of people. But like I said, this theory from Freud has been very much criticised and disregarded by a lot of people. Okay, that's it on Oedipus. I'll see you in the next lesson.